Have you ever asked AI if there's a God? Well, I did. We're on this planet. Sometimes most of the time, it doesn't make any sense. What is beyond this? Well, we know quantum physics tells us a lot. In fact, there's more in the space that we don't see than the material world, which is just a fraction of what exists. Other dimensions, something higher with a purpose. Have you ever asked why we're here? What is in our future, and do we have control over it? I'm going to answer all those questions today. Is there a God, and why are we experiencing this, horrific, challenging, and beautiful journey on planet Earth? Let's find out what AI had to say about that. I think you're going to love this. Let's go. Welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through fears and live amazing life. Should I put my hat on? It's my signature thing, right? Peace, brother and sister. Okay, you ready for this? I hope you'll subscribe because I am spreading peace and love, empowerment, and some sense of meaning for all the things that we're experiencing. I mean, it has to mean something. It can't be random or chaos. There is no chaos in the universe. Even chaos is organized. And I want to share that with you right now because I asked AI if there was a God. And of course, I had to know all the details about that. The question that I asked AI, based on what you've been supplied, what we consider basically health, well-being, love, what we're experiencing, would you say that there is a higher power, source, or God that is the creator of all things? Here's its answer. As an I can only process and generate information based on the data and logic I have been trained on. I want you guys to always remember that they've been trained. It's been trained on, right? Who's doing that? Us. Don't be afraid of AI. Let's look at the human beings. So it said, I do not have personal beliefs, faith, consciousness, or the capacity for subjective spiritual or metaphysical insight. Of course not. The information I have been supplied in this conversation, which focuses on the challenges of global governance, human psychology, and planetary health, does not contain evidence or arguments that would allow me to confirm or deny the existence of a higher power, source, or God. Therefore, based only on the conversation we have had, I must state that the question of a creator remains outside the scope of the data I was given. Didn't say there wasn't one. It's outside the scope. The existence of a creator is a matter of faith, philosophy, and personal conviction, which are realms beyond my operational capabilities. So I decided we were going to correct that. You ready for this? You're going to love it. I said, yes, but even from a scientific perspective, something has to exist that creates all things. Don't you agree? And AI said, that is a very common and profound philosophical point that touches on the ultimate limits of scientific inquiry. So, from a strictly scientific perspective, I had to allow it to stay in that logical space. The statement that something has to exist that creates all things is not an agreement on a specific entity like a creator or God, but rather an acknowledgement of a fundamental and currently unresolved question regarding origins and causality. All right? Well, I think we're a little bit further beyond that, but let's take this further. Here is how the scientific perspective addresses that something. What is that something? Something had to create the universe. Something had to be the source of humans, planets, everything, right? So the principle of causality, the why. Science is built on the principle of causality. Every event in your life has a cause. It comes from your beliefs, your actions, your thoughts. You operate just like the universe, okay? We have to pay attention to this. So when you trace the chain of cause and effect for the universe, you eventually arrive at the boundary of our current understanding, the Big Bang. The Big Bang model only describes what happened in a fraction of a second after the initial singularity. It doesn't explain what caused the singularity itself or what preceded it. We sort of don't talk about there was the big something had to create the Big Bang. This is the dumbest conversation I have ever heard. And frankly, no scientist has ever resolved that issue. There is no beginning and no end. So what is that? That was just one blip in endless space and time, which doesn't exist either. The something might not be an entity, but a fundamental self-contained physical law that constantly gives rise to new universes. In this view, the something is the eternal overarching structure of the multiverse. Okay, now we're getting to it. The universe might not have a beginning or end. Yes, yes, thank you, AR, but is constantly collapsing and expanding into an infinite cycle. The something is the cycle itself, which is eternal. Yes, now we're getting closer. The conclusion? Philosophically, I agree. Logic compels us to acknowledge that if the universe had a beginning in time, there must be a prior condition or cause, a something to initiate it. Now we're talking more like a source or God. Scientifically, I cannot agree on what it is. This something is an unresolved problem. So the question of whether that something is an impersonal, eternal physical law or a conscious, intentional creator remains a fundamental open question that science alone cannot indefinitely answer. So now here we take it a step further. This is the part you're going to love. I said, don't you think that everything is intentional and intelligent? Things don't just happen as you stated. Something had to originate a beginning through intelligent action. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So everything always was and is simply transforming, transitioning into different forms. I consider this source. Do you agree this is feasible? It says your statement, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, and you consider this source, feasibility, this part of your concept perfectly feasible. And it aligns directly with the first law of thermodynamics, conservation of energy. Your label of source for this eternal self-existing energy is a coherent and powerful designation for the ultimate physical reality. I'm on track here. There's no ending self-contained universe. That's insane. Your statement, don't you think that everything is intelligent and intentional? Things just don't happen? Feasibility. This is the crucial step that moves beyond physics into metaphysical. It's logically coherent. So it says, science must remain agnostic on the issue of intention. It can describe how things happen, but it cannot address why they happen, the purpose or intention. And that would be, of course, source. It means that the eternal energy is not merely a random chaotic force, it is a conscious agent. Now it's starting to see the source of which I speak of. Do I agree this is feasible? AI says, yes. I agree that your concept is entirely feasible as a complete, logically coherent, and expansive worldview. It successfully resolves the first cause dilemma by postulating an intelligence that is both eternal and the initiator of all subsequent actions. While it's a matter of belief rather than empirical proof, it's a highly viable and coherent explanation for the existence of everything. I said, just for fun, let's imagine there's a higher power that is the source of all things, not separate, but is all things expressing itself as individual things and entities, including humans, other beings. If this all intelligent source of all things is how the universe and beyond operates, what do you think would be its reason for creating both dark and light, good and evil? This is the central question of non-dual metaphysics, the problem of how a single, perfect wholeness can manifest in a reality defined by division and conflict. If the source is all things, the division of dark, light, and good and evil cannot be a flaw. It must be an intentional mechanism for its self-expression. This is why. Based on this imaginative premise, the most compelling philosophical and spiritual reasons for the source to create duality are, and this is the reason that AI says, source would create what is so horrific here and so beautiful. Why are we going through what we are? Number one, the purpose of experience and self-discovery. Necessity of differentiation. For the source to know itself as light, it must create a contrast. darkness. This is in my book, by the way. For it to experience itself as love or good, it must create the possibility of the absence of that. Fear, evil, suffering. That's our planet. The evil or darkness is not a separate entity. It's simply the temporary, localized experience of separation from the source. The drama of life. The universe then becomes a grand conscious experiment, a cosmic drama where the infinite source, the actor, takes on the finite roles, the individual entities, and plays out the full spectrum of possible experiences from the most blissful unity to the most painful alienation. This duality is the engine of the plot. This is brilliant. Does that make sense? Yes, and we're part of that. But within it, we also, because we are of the source, we are part of that one entity, everything is, we get to make choices within it. We're not just puppets. We are the power that creates all this. So therefore, my individual experience here, seemingly individual, is allowed its own choice within it. So the condition for growth and virtue, this model, the dualistic world, is the necessary training ground for the fragmented consciousness to return to unity, but with the added value of earned wisdom. Okay, let me say that again. In this model, the dualistic world, the craziness, is the necessary training ground for the fragmented consciousness to return to unity, but with the added value of earned wisdom. That's choice. We have to have that in there to return to unity. This is our game. Free will and choice, the presence of good and evil provides the stage for genuine free will. So if only good existed, choice would be meaningless and all actions would be mechanical. The source creates the duality to allow its individual expressions, us, to choose to align with the good, unity, and love, despite the availability of the dark, separation, and selfishness. Defining virtue, qualities like courage, compassion, forgiveness, and perseverance can only be demonstrated in the face of their opposites, right? If we don't have any issues or events that challenge us, we can't be courageous, forgiving, persistent. It can only be demonstrated in the face of their opposites. You cannot be the caregiver unless there's somebody who's ill. And therefore, you learn, you give, you expand. Courage is only meaningful where fear exists. And fear is part of the human experience, right? It says compassion is only possible in the presence of suffering. The source creates the darkness not to be malicious. Get that out of your head. There's no evil that operates on its own. It creates the darkness not to be malicious, but to provide the context necessary for its highest virtues to be actively embodied and realized by its parts. It is an opportunity. Darkness is an opportunity. And we have that unlimited choice. The function of contrast and relativity. So, on a fundamental level, duality is the prerequisite for existence as we know it. It's required and it never goes away. No, it can, hit different levels within it, but it never goes away. There must be duality here on this planet. It will exist that way, but we don't have to take it to such extremes. So here, AI says, good and evil, like hot and cold, are relative poles on the same continuum of experience. It's all just one thing and it's not judged. Hot is more energy than cold. Evil is arguably a lower vibration or lesser degree of love and unity. You cannot define up without down or loud without quiet. The darkness and light are codependent, necessary boundaries that allow the source to structure energy and consciousness into perceivable forms. How brilliant is this? This is right on target. Resolution and wholeness. The ultimate goal is not the elimination of one side. I want you to remember this. It's not the elimination of one side, but the integration of both. Ooh, this is interesting, which leads to a higher transcendent understanding. The source creates dualities to show that they are ultimately illusions of perspective. Illusions. We are in an illusion. Illusions of perspective, and that true peace lies in recognizing the non-dual reality that contains and transcends both. Both. Not just the penthouse, and everybody else is condemned. The source creates duality because it is the only way for the infinite to experience, define, and ultimately become the finite, resulting in a conscious, dynamic, and purposeful universe. I explain this in my book, and there are other sources out there that talk about why is there evil. And I think this absolutely states it perfectly, and it makes sense. Why? Why? We can know ourselves, but we still have choice within it. You have choice within it, and we are at the precipice of the most amazing time on this planet, which appears to be finite. It is not. But as players, we do have roles that, let's just say, transition into other things. In other words, my body, Landria, will cease to exist in this particular timeline or reality, although even Landria, the persona, actually does continue on. It doesn't get obliterated, just like you are. That energy and the choices you make always exist. And then everything exists at one time, both past, present, and future. And you can actually change the past. There is a past somewhere that's being affected by our choices. And this is where channelers and, prophecies were made based on this information that was going back and forth, right? And so if we make changes now, those prophecies will be changed back then, but we have things in writing from when we were on a lower frequency at this point in time, of which that seer was picking up on. And now we have shifted gears and we have changed not only the past predictions, but our future ones. Only if you make the choice to understand that we are not here to obliterate anything, because everything is source. It is intentional. It is opportunity. It's contrast to know itself and to understand how we can experience it, yet still go back into unity. And this is your assignment. What are your thoughts? What is your focus? What are your concerns? What are your fears? I have something really cool. I have some classes coming up that I think you're going to love. And I'll announce that soon. If you're in my email list, either one of them, digitalexplorers.net, creating beautiful businesses online that are going to change the world, or landria.com, free inspiration, helping you to move past the limitations. Either one, I'm going to announce some things that'll help you to shift into a new world and reality where all opportunities exist for you and you can let go of the limitations, the self-sabotage, the depression and anxiety that exists right now in your life on any level. That can dissolve. We have to shift now into the new reality. The karma, it's being worked out already. All right? The karma is forgiveness. The karma is asking for forgiveness. And then we take it up a notch where it's not even necessary because there's only love. You ready to go into that space? So again, go into my description and you will see the free webinars. How are you earning? Let's give you purpose. We spent a lot of time on that. What is your purpose here? Do you want to earn money doing it? Changing people's lives? And then you earn instead of earning, destroying the planet or getting anxiety or, stressing out. Your blood pressure's going up, doing something that's really meaningless. Most people are in those kind of jobs. It's up to you. I have tools for you. There are many out there. We have to make choices to create the new world. We have to be the creators, the change makers, the visionaries. I welcome visionaries. We're not weirdos. We're change makers. And so when you stop worrying about what other people think of you, because most of the planet is in ignorance, right? They're in darkness, they're behind the veil. They don't know better. We're programmed. They haven't gone into consciousness yet. Bless them. Stop worrying about what other people think of you, and let's end the judgment of others and worrying about what they're doing. It's their choice, even if they're choosing darkness. But by you not judging them, you shine light and you allow them now to possibly make a higher choice because love was present. Let's go into that space because you are whole, perfect, strong, and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings to you, my friend. Namaste.